Thanks for tuning in to the Traumaplicity Podcast with Dr. Amanda Helman, an author, cognitive release coach, consultant, and speaker. Dr. Amanda Helman has guests on the podcast who have overcome different areas of trauma and provided hope for the audience. Thank you for tuning in to this podcast.
So we are now live on the Amanda Helman author and speaker page. So hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Amanda Helman, and I am the host of your Traumaplicity talk show. Trauma plus simplicity equals Traumaplicity. So looking at simple steps to heal trauma. And the purpose of this show is to really help bring on different people sharing stories, because we're all humans and we all go through different things in life. And we want to hear what are some stories of hope going through different processes to get on the other side. So tonight, I'm really delighted. I have a friend and mentor and colleague, Craig Miller, here with me. And Craig is an author of many books that I've read, and also a new book that he'll be talking about. And he also does it's Healing Heart, Insights from the Heart. Is that correct, Craig?
That's correct.
And he also has that and really works with people on getting set free from different traumas and healing. And so I'm really excited to have Craig on today to share, his story and also give some insights for you. So Craig, without further ado, I wanted to welcome you on, and you can also add to what I shared briefly, but definitely want to hear part of your story, or also things, and since you're in the field, of what might be helpful. So certainly let's hear from you.
Thank you, Amanda, for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. I love what you do, and I really like how you just like to get out there and help people. And I appreciate you letting me just share some things to help people. So I'd say about for years, and I've been doing what I'm doing for about 42 years, and I see people in my office, like 30 a week, and then I work with people on Zoom or somewhere in the world. So I'd say for years I would do emotional healing, because I, being a practitioner myself, a mental health practitioner, I would do a lot of emotional healing to help people in the sense of how they're feeling at that time. But interesting enough, when I went to college years ago, I worked in the kitchen to get me through college, and I hurt my back in my sophomore year, and my back was never the same. I had to go to the ER, and for 30 years, it was a back pain. And so it'd be on and off. And one particular Sunday, when we were invited to a church for some pastors, and this is a time when I wanted more. I wanted more to learn about God. I want to learn about my faith. I just wanted to learn more about how God could be used in my life and with other people. But that day that we went, my wife and I, my back was about the worst it's ever been. But I was determined to do that. People out there, we're just determined to get it done. But we don't understand why we can't have a breakthrough. Why am I feeling this way when I love God, or I do all that I can, and I do everything the doctor says? So I go there, and it was a nice sermon. At the end of the pastor said, anybody that has any physical ailments, come up to the front for healing. Now, I prayed for people. I'm involved in that, but they did something. First of all, they asked me to go up to the front and lay on the floor, which and that's not the issue. Just the fact that they did it that way was interesting, because I got a back pain. They want me to lay on the floor. So I'm laying on the floor, and they prayed over my legs. They released some emotional issues in my life. And they said, okay, now get up. Now, I've got this bad back pain. So what I did is I rolled over on my side. And there was no pain. I got up on my elbow, no pain. Anybody else knows with back pain, you need to do it gently. But every time I did that, there was no pain. So I sat up and I stood right up, and there was absolutely no pain. And I said, wow, I couldn't believe it. So I realized that from that point on, God's catapulted me into the issue of working with backs, or just general physical, because I realized there's such a connection between the spiritual, the emotional, and the physical. And I didn't see the connection as much before. And I didn't realize that in my book. This book is the one that is what I use mostly. It's Breaking Emotional Barriers to Healing, and it's forwarded by Dr. Randy Clark at a Global Awakening. And the Breaking Emotional Barriers to Healing is all about the emotional soul part of the healing. In praying for healing, we pray through the spirit by God bringing the healing. What happens is, what if they don't get healed? See, because it doesn't make sense for people that have faith that if I allow God to come into my heart, when you do that, you have everything God has. You have everything Jesus has. Actually, it's Jesus, what Jesus has. It's 1 Corinthians 3:16, which is Spirit dwells within you. And you have his fullness and you have his power. And so, it doesn't make sense. So if an adult has Jesus in their heart, they're a smart person and they're going to church, why am I still feeling anxiety, depression, and have this pain? It's because I'm holding on to something that I have not let go of. Because think about this. I believe that whatever's not of God, whatever doesn't seem right, you need to believe that. So that especially if God's in your heart, you need to recognize if I have an ache or a pain or anxiety, that's not of God. Well, anything that's not of God, what I realize is that it was given to you. It was given to you from somebody, either a person or a circumstance. And if it was given to you, that means you can give it away. But when it happens, especially in childhood, when I'm vulnerable and I don't know better, if nobody helps me out of it, I'm going to hold on to that pain and not let it go, even if somebody prays over me, because typically I hold on to it for a reason, either to protect me, either because that's all I know, or it's a way of life. And the problem is that's a soul issue.
Yeah.
And so we need to, so what I do in this book, in Breaking Emotional Barriers to Healing, is I'm going to work on the soul part of it and why we still hold on to that feeling. Because most people, if I don't get healed, like there's something wrong with my faith, there's not wrong with your faith. Even in as small as a mustard seed, you can be healed. Or there's something wrong with me, but there's not. God still loves you. But there's something that I'm holding on to, not because I want to, it's because I don't know what it is most of the time. So what I do is I want to help people to go to the roots, automatically go to the roots. Because even the Center for Disease Control, they say that 85% of our physical ailments have a psychological root. Now that's very high. I see it more like 95.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. So there's this woman that had fears at nighttime. She's pushing 60. She's around 60 years old. She is always afraid of the dark. Always had a nightlight on, and it's to the day I prayed for her, and she was very afraid of the dark and felt often out of control or not feeling safe. So God, in our praying, God took her right back to when her mother was giving birth to her. There was a complication. And so the mother, they had to stop the delivery. And for several hours until they transferred her to another hospital, she was stuck and caught in the birth canal for several hours. And because it was dark, and we know up to children in utero, they're a seeing, feeling, sensing, awareness child. And so that experience made her afraid, out of control, something bad's going to happen. And so when we went back to that, she released the trauma from that. She forgave her mom and she let go of that trauma. That night, she was able to sleep the best she's ever had. She had no nightlight on and she was not afraid anymore.
Awesome.
I mean, so we just have to allow ourselves to go to a root of where it started. And it's not because there's something wrong with her as a person or lack of faith. She's been prayed for years, but no one could find the actual root of that. So I think it's very interesting that, and I've got plenty of stories of going to the root.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you've run into that also, Amanda, in terms of finding that place. I mean, you could do all the counseling you want about the here and now, but why am I even feeling the here and now? Why is it in the here and now? That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to go find that place where it came from.
Yeah, which is important. And again, like all the different examples you're giving, plus you had that experience when you were with your back, right? And that led you to where you are now in helping people get set free in many areas.
So it's interesting that I didn't realize also until God kind of sent me into more of learning about this, that um, the the body is made up of obviously all the cells and muscles and organs, and every part of your body is part of energy. It's a substance and it's energy. And so we have to realize that when we're hurt, when something happens, it creates an energy. Everything has a vibrational frequency. Everything does, even the rocks cry out. But when it's alive, it has a vibrational frequency. This is not new age. This is actually what God created, because if it doesn't have a frequency, then it's dead. So every emotion has a vibrational frequency, and every organ, for example, has a vibrational frequency. And what I didn't realize is that when we have like, for example, one of the best known examples I use is I had a man come in my office that he was depressed. That was the original. He came in depressed, but he also had a shortness of breath. He couldn't walk downstairs or walk or do any activity without having a very, very poor circulation. He couldn't breathe. It was this close to going on oxygen. So knowing that, I said, how long have you been having this breathing problem? He said 7 years. And that's how long he's been depressed. I said, so part of it is go to where you first started. What happened 7 years ago? He said, well, 7 years ago, I worked in a place in the Detroit area, and I had to get out of that job because it was so bad for my lungs and the soot and so on. The doctor said, if you don't leave, you're going to die. So he left that place, but he should have gotten better. In other words, prayer and even our body should be getting better. Well, it didn't. So, however, knowing that the vibrational frequency of loss and grief have the same vibrational frequency as the lungs. So when we take in something, I said, what happened during that time 7 years ago? He said, that's when my wife left me and divorced me, took the kids out of state, and it devastated me. There's the words, devastation and loss. So because he held that in, if we don't let that go in a soon amount of time, that will go into our bodies, to our cells, organs, and it'll just settle there. It'll settle the weakest link and to the place that has the same frequency. And when it did that, it settled in his lungs. And because his lungs were already bad, the emotion makes that worse. It stops it from being healed, and it prevents it. It locks it in. It does not let it go. So what I did is I had him go back to, he released the trauma, the emotion of grief from losing his family, his wife, his children, his job, his manhood. It just goes on and on. He forgave his wife, himself, for what he did for his wife leaving, his boss, his employer, da da da. So when we got rid of that, I had a short prayer over his lungs. His lungs cleared right up.
Wow.
And so we got to realize that
Yeah.
it's what we're holding on to. And a lot of times we don't know because we don't see the connection.
Right.
So it's very important to us to expand, as I call it in my book, Breaking Emotional Barriers to Healing, is to expand our search. And by the way, you can get that book on my webpage, which is insightsfromtheheart.com, or on Amazon. It also comes in the paperback and in audio. But the important thing is, in the back of that book, I have the emotional connection to 450 medical and mental health diagnoses. So when you pray for somebody and they don't get healed, or even if you're not a Christian and it's not being healed, you need to still deal with the emotion. This is not about religion. This is about healing, but God does what he wants us to be healed. So I just want to give people an opportunity. So you want to find that emotion, and you want to begin to go to where you were first hurt. And if you really want to go a little further, find someone in your life that you felt comforted by. It's like you want to give yourself a little hug to let it go. Because let me give you an example. When you're a parent, for example, or you have nieces and nephews, and they're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever the age is. And let's say they're running through their house and they fall and they hurt themselves and they're crying because they're hurting. You're going to go up to them and give them a hug. Give them a little hug, and you're going to make them feel comforted and a little loved. Give them a little love pat. It's going to be okay. Now, in doing that, whenever we feel hugged and loved, we're able to release more safely. So let's say you say to the child, tell me what happened. And they're either going to cry it out or they're going to speak it out. And when they do that, they're releasing it and they're processing out the information of the emotion and the memory. And when they do that, you're processing out and releasing the trauma. So when you do that, how long do you think, Amanda, it would take for that little person to become feeling better if you did that in their comfort? Maybe a minute?
Yeah, I think they'd be able to right away get to the comfort.
Exactly. Now, you know why my office is so full of hurting people, and why people walk around hurting, depressed, is because nobody did this. That was originally hurt. It doesn't matter whether you're a child, teenager, even adult. But if you're not comforted to feel safe, you're going to hold on to that hurt, and you'll hold on to it in such a way that you'll keep it, you'll adapt to it, and then it becomes part of your identity, and people have a harder time letting it go. So you need to see yourself, whether it's a trusted person or whether it's if you're a person of faith using Jesus, but see yourself having that person there and go back to the original hurt, let it go, admit the fact that it hurt, let it go. Because when you receive something, a hurt, you can also let it go. And that's what we need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful. And again, right, like getting to those different roots and finding ways that are safe for people is huge. So thank you for sharing that, Craig. And you talked a lot about, I know I was going to ask you about simple steps, but you've been sharing some different simple steps that are practical, right? Like even like the safe love hug. But are there a couple other safe, simple steps that might support people that say maybe they're going through something and, there might be different levels of it, but something that they might be able to try right now practically?
Okay, good question. So I would say the most important one is to recognize the fact that you are hurting. And then secondly is to recognize that I can actually give it away. You have to recognize the fact that it was given to you. If you're hurting, especially like injustice or how people treated you, or growing up with a mother or father, even I get a lot of people that are afraid of conflict, or afraid of not feeling good about themselves, or afraid of people raising their voice, and usually that comes from a past when it did make me afraid because there was somebody of greater authority that made me afraid. So recognize that. If you could go back to that time, seeing yourself with a person there, like if you're a person of faith, say Jesus, or an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent who's standing between you and this unsafe person. And by the way, if you can't think of anybody that's safe, then just pretend you're in this big, thick glass, plexiglass bubble, and you're safe on one side. And you got to recognize that I'm allowed to let this go because it was given to me by a person that hurt me. And now it's I don't have to like it. Now, most people believe if I let go of something that I'm hurt, that I have to like the person. I give people permission to never like what happened to you. You don't have to like it. But now you don't have to carry around the hurt because of what they did to you. And people don't realize that. So here I am now, I'm 50 or 60 years old, but I'm still carrying around something when I was 10. Well, when it was 10, it was hurtful and it wasn't good and you had no choice. You got to recognize that. But now I'm now 50 and I do have a choice. So I have to separate the fact that I hurt then, but I don't have to hurt now. The next thing is allow yourself to give you a little bit of butterfly tap, just like you'd be loved with somebody that gives you a little, like a pat on the back. Give yourself a little pat here. It's a soothing little feeling of it's going to be okay. And if you can't find somebody to do that, like thinking of somebody that's doing that to you, just do it to yourself. Because if nobody else loved on you, you need to start loving yourself. That's just number one. And the problem is you got to get it from somewhere. And my prayer is that there is somebody, but if not, then you start realizing that I need to give myself the love that I never got.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are really practical. You mentioned like really simple things that can help people when they're in the process, Craig. And I'm sure that that they could use even after they can use anytime.
Yeah, and realize that no matter how old your children are, or your spouse is, or whoever is important in your life, it's never too late to share that comfort with them and letting them know that it's going to be okay. And because you got to start somewhere, even if it wasn't start, and even if we didn't get it ourselves growing up, and you knew that, it's never too late for you to start loving on yourself. It may sound kind of strange, but the point is that is even with another book that years ago, I still love the book called it's When Feelings Don't Come Easy. There's a lot of people that can't express their feelings. So you need to start, if you didn't have people that help you express it, do it yourself, like driving home from work, talk to the dashboard or talk to God, or so at least you got to get it out. And so the other thing is you've got to get our emotions out, just like you need to get your words out. And if you don't have the emotion at that point, say how you feel. Because when you say how you feel, it literally loosens the energy that's creating the hurt. It's releasing, it's the biggest issue is releasing. This will help you release. Crying will help you release. Speaking it out will help you release. And if you can help with somebody else with that, or just do it yourself as self-talk, or actually through prayer, say, God, I really hurt right now. I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. And it really hurts me when that person did that. And God, help me know what to do about this right now because it's really hurting inside. That's what somebody else should have done with you. So it becomes natural. And if no one did, then it's time that you do it yourself.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. And so again, audience, if you're watching this or watching this later, you can ask questions. You can write questions for Craig because he gave you some practical stories from himself, things that he's seen. He also gave you, and I appreciate that, Craig, some practical tools for how you can walk that through, even if this seems really hard. And even starting, and it's simple, right? We want to keep our brain saying it is simple to start, not saying the process is always simple, but that there's little things that you can start, right? Because sometimes we want to get everything done all at once. And
right.
Just the little things that can start it going. And so, Craig, for the audience, there might be people in different places. Some people might be it's healing journey. Some people might be starting, they might be ahead, they might be beginning. What's a word of wisdom or a phrase of wisdom you want to share with them so that they can start these simple things? Maybe if they're so afraid, what's something that might break that off of them?
Well, what's really important, again, Amanda, is the fact that they recognize that they are afraid. And that if they feel that they can't do it themselves, that it's overwhelming for themselves, then just simply find somebody to help you do it with you. Now, the best would be a professional. That could be a pastor. It could be and it could be a good friend to start out with that. But if you find that you're really stuck in it, find somebody else as a professional, for example, helping you get to do something that you feel you can't do on your own. I hear a lot of people that say, they say that, well, we could just get through it ourselves. And but the problem is that's why you're still feeling that way, is because you can't. And I believe God's bringing on this earth, and there's many types of people that have many types of talents, and allow those people with those talents to help you. Like, for example, if you broke your leg, you're not going to say, well, I'll just get through it. I'll just press into the pain. No, you'll go to the doctor and you'll have them get an x-ray. What is the problem? Identify the problem, and then they'll set that so it heals well. Well, it's the same thing with your mind. So if you're hurting in your mind and your heart, find someone to help you identify what is going on and then help you to set that in a better course so you can feel better. So there's no difference between medical and mental issues. It's just a matter of finding someone that has more expertise to help you get to a better place. And I don't rule out prayer, and I definitely recommend prayer, talking to a pastor, your priest, whatever it is, that would help you get to a better place than where you are now. Because God doesn't want you to suffer. any more than you do. Don't let what you've been feeling all your life be your way of life.
Mm.
If it's not, doesn't seem right.
Yeah, no, that's good. So audience, if you're watching again on different healing journeys, maybe different backgrounds, like Craig said, there's many different ways you can go through this. And Craig, always a pleasure. Craig Miller, I've learned a lot from what you do, and it's incredible. And just the different things, when you're hearing it, and sometimes there's different things out there, but honestly, this is one of the greatest things that has helped me, just learning about the roots and learning about some of that is so huge, because yes, there's different stuff, and I'm not going into psychology and counseling, but when we're looking at it, it always ends up going back to stuff when we were younger, and it could be perception of negative or positive events or how we perceived it, but it matters, right? But it matters to us, but it is then going through that. So Craig, I thank you for your time. Audience, if you haven't, definitely get his book. He has a couple other, I think you have a new one out, right, as a more of a training guide, but definitely the emotional barriers for healing. I look it up online. I look at it for myself yet. So,
and you can go on my website. It's insights with an S, insightsfromtheheart.com. And there's a lot of information on there, videos, a radio show, books, resources, and a lot of videos in terms of how-to videos. So it's and a lot of healing stories, healing videos.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. So thank you, Craig. And again, thank you, audience. You always catch the Traumaplicity Talk Show every Wednesday. Now it's a little later tonight because I had a little snafu, but Craig's been great. So we usually are on at 7:00 p.m. or it might be pre-recorded depending on the audience. That we are live tonight, and you got some great tidbits and you got to hear from Craig Miller, but we're here every week on Wednesdays, and certainly you can tune in at any time. So thank you all and have a great week.
The Traumaplicity Podcast is sponsored by Cognitive Release Coaching TM by Dr. Amanda Helman, who empowers people to release the busy brain and gain back time, energy, and productivity that leads to well-being. Contact Dr. Amanda Helman by checking out one of the links to this show. Subscribe and share the Traumaplicity Podcast with people that can benefit.